So I'm going to go back to Seinfeld. I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. You know, I'm old. What can I tell you? I grew up in the, in the 90s. I was older in the 90s, but I just lived and breathed by Seinfeld. To this day, I stand by it as one of the best, if not the best, sitcom ever written. And there was an episode where I think the name of the episode was The Serenity Now. And I'm going to go ahead and play a clip from this because I can't explain what Serenity Now is, as well as just the first 10 seconds of this clip from the show. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this roll here.
Serenity now! Serenity now!
What is that?
Doctor gave me a relaxation cassette. When my blood pressure gets too high, the man on the tape tells me to say, Serenity now!
So the idea of it is essentially when George Costanza's dad gets upset about something, he just says, Serenity now, right? And I didn't mean for this to become my Serenity Now, but I have my own Serenity now, and I've got a story that goes along with it from an ex-client, and I'm going to tell you about that now. So my Serenity Now is just saying the word, the audacity. The audacity. So now anytime let's say my wife gets home from work or, I'm dealing with somebody or something happens and I just walk upstairs and she can just tell I'm in a mood. And I'm like, you're not going to believe what just happened. And she's like, just say it. And so I have to say it. The audacity. And I'm not the kind of person that hangs on to things that make me angry because that does you no good, right? And as a business owner, you're going to have things that just come flying at you and you're going to be like, this can't be real life. I can't believe this is happening. So if you're going to own your own business, you've got to figure out how to take something, process it, and then be done with it. And the other thing is I've learned that 99 times out of 100, when I am saying the audacity, it's not because somebody was trying to wrong me, because most times people aren't trying to wrong you. You know what I mean? They just are lacking, not spatial awareness. What do you call it? Oh my God. They're just, and I don't want to say, and it's not an IQ issue. It's not like people are stupid or malicious. They're just not thinking about the thing that they're about to ask you to do. And so I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to give you an example of when the audacity came into play. So last weekend, it was Sunday, and it was the day of the AFC Championship. And if you followed this podcast at all, I'm a Kansas City born and bred, struggling, sad Chiefs fan for the first 40 years of my life, very happy Chiefs fan for the last 7 years of my life. But I'm driving to go watch the AFC Championship game on Sunday. And I also need to go back in time a little bit. So last summer, I had a client who was one of my first clients, and a guy owns a bar in Kansas City. Absolutely love this guy. Love this bar. I've known him since I was in college. He was one of the first bars that booked my college band outside of my college town. So it booked me in Kansas City. And so I've known this guy forever. Super great guy. And he was one of my first clients that I brought on for when I started doing the social media thing back in 2017, 18, something like that. And as a result, the other thing that I did coming out of the gate was I really underpriced my services. And it was because I didn't know any better in a lot of ways. And that was okay because I've kept a handful of my clients, but I would realize okay, I'm charging too little. So the next client I would charge a little bit more and say, okay, this is really where I need to be. And so that got me to where I am with my pricing now. But this is one of my first clients. He was still there, kind of grandfathered in. And I wasn't going to go and push and be like, hey, you know what? You need to pay me twice as much or whatever. And I say that because last summer I was sitting down with him for a meeting and he's like, you know what? I've just got a couple of the women at our staff or a couple of our waitresses think that we'd be better off bringing our social media in-house. And I could tell, I was like, oh, okay. So you want to let me go? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And I could tell he felt bad, But it was one of those things where it was almost kind of a blessing because it's like, okay, yeah, great. I mean, I have no hard feelings towards him at all. I think he's the best. He's always been great, always been very fair to me. And so he's like, wow, he's like, you really made this easy. And I said, well, I appreciate the opportunity. You've been great to work for and with and all that stuff, and again, I had no hard feelings towards the guy at all. And so, that was I want to say like July or August. It was a while ago. It's February now. So if you're watching this in the future, there's a 6-month window there. So, and this is just a bar where I would go in there, once a month and take pictures and post pictures from the bar or whatever. And so when the Chiefs would play, I'd go in and take pictures and stuff like that. And then when the Chiefs play again, you post pictures of people, Chiefs in Chiefs gear watching the game, right? Okay, so fast forward, I'm driving to another bar to watch the AFC Championship with my wife last Sunday, and I get a text from one of the waitresses at this bar. And she says, hey, Ryan, do you have any pictures of people watching Chiefs games here that you can send me? And I'm like, I look at the text and I'm driving and we're almost pulling up to the bar. And I tell my wife, I'm like, you're not going to believe this. And she's like, just say it. The audacity of you to lobby for my job and then 6 months later text me and say, hey, can you help me out a little bit for free, I guess. I don't know. I in my mind, I cannot imagine thinking like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we fired you 6 months ago, but did you do that thing? And could you help us out? And again, I have no hard feelings towards the owner of this company or the managers of this place. I don't like it's cool. Things happen. But actually, like if you hire somebody and you let them go, I guess I have to say this, like, don't come back and ask them for things that you didn't value enough to keep them on the payroll. Right. I mean, it just seems to me, I can't even wrap my head around it because I can't imagine letting someone go and then hitting them up for a favor, especially a favor that was like directly what their job was, that you basically are saying, hey, we can do this better than you. And again, I have access to the analytics and that always makes me feel better. Sometimes when I get to look at people's analytics after I've walked away and I get to see what they were doing when I was there versus what they're doing now. And I'm like, oh, well, look at that. I guess I was doing a pretty good job. So that made me feel pretty good. But anyway, maybe it's something you can use in your life when people come at you and again, I know that this woman was not trying to like attack me. Like I know she wasn't being malicious, but I just, the audacity, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you actually, like, how is this okay in your mind? Can't wrap my head around it. Cannot wrap my head around it.